Yo, yo. So, anyways, I was talking for like a whole minute and didn't even know I wasn't live. But anyways, I decided that I wanted to do this stream and get it out the way because apparently I think there needs to be a recapping of uh, power and responsibility. It seems to be that people don't understand that concept, and this stems from the video, or excuse me, the topic that was done uh yesterday over at BGS's when one of the Strag overlords came through and wanted to grace the stream with their presence in so many words. um it just simply boils down to, hey, what's going on, Rainy Woman? It just simply boils down to uh, power and responsibility dynamics. She was assuming that because the man did X, Y, and Z, doesn't matter. That because he gave his sperm to a woman, that he's ultimately responsible for the fact that there are baby mothers in the world. That's just simply not true. It's not true at all. And the reason why it's not true is because of the power and responsibility dynamic. That dynamic, if you apply it, you can apply it to many things, but in this situation I'm going to explain it. What's going on, BJ? But okay, so if and that's the reason why Angry Man was asking her the questions that he was, in regards to the house, and her having any responsibility to it, even though she paid for it and gave it to him. you know uh and she said no, she wouldn't buy a house that she didn't have any say so over. This is no different than anything. I mean, it like I said, this plays in so many dynamics. And the reason why I put my videos out the way I did is because these are the things that are going to help people to get away from gaslighting. Once you understand the fundamentals and dynamics of how things work in conjunction with each other, and you stick to that if you create that in a foundation, that will be super duper solid. you know It'll be super duper solid, and not many people are going to be able to tell you anything different once you have these fundamentals down. But anyway, so she was saying that you know men are responsible for baby mothers. That is that is that is a high fallacy, a high fallacy. uh and the reason, once again, is because of the things that were said many times during that stream. But I just want to reiterate um my video. My video was specifically power and responsibility, and I outline in there that if you have power but no responsibility, that creates dysfunction. If you have responsibility but no power, that creates dysfunction every single time. What's going on, LaShawn? Every single time, that's going to create these problems and these dynamics. um but that the whole fact that she came in there and reiterated that like it was textbook fact is a peephole into the the pathology of the black community, period. I mean, there are so many women who have that same logic, that have that same what's going on, what's that, Barborn was good. But there are so many people that have that same logic, that have that same way of thinking. um you know it 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 almost seems like that's just the way things are supposed to be. But then people look back at the devastation and wonder, how did this happen? Well, you gave power and no responsibility to the wrong people. um and you gave I cut out for a minute, I think. I hit the wrong button. Anyways, you have these problems because of of these people not taking accountability, but yet holding the power. Women have 100% unilateral power over the decision of what happens to children here in the United States. We all know this, but and women, they know this. The reason why you get women that will try to fight that is because they understand intrinsically, subconsciously, maybe not consciously, they understand. I mean, a person with enough common sense could understand this, but the reason why they try to fight against that is because it goes back to the whole narrative of the gynocracy doesn't exist. If you trick people into believing that the gynocracy doesn't exist, they don't view it as a threat. And that goes the same with all the talking points. If you take out the power and responsibility talking points, then the problem does not exist. And that's what she was attempting to do. She was attempting to place the blame on men because she felt, like I said, consciously, I don't think she understands this, but I think that at the same time, she understood that there was a narrative to be had that was going to put her in a position where she could have power and no responsibility. She was trying to do that even through conversation, regardless of what the conversation was about. But anyways, um, like I said, the whole idea that men have any amount of responsibility for creating baby mothers. Now, I will say that the way you can create a baby mother and hold responsibility to it is if you got a woman pregnant, y'all decided to agree to get pregnant together, and you ended up, being with that woman long term, and for whatever reason, you did something that was against the principles that you set out and the agreement that you set out with that woman, and thus you're no longer with her, or she doesn't want to be with you anymore. You created a baby mama pretty much at that point in time. That's the only way that I think that can happen, because that assumes that you have the power over yourself and your actions. Therefore, you have the responsibility of the creation of such in regards to a baby mama. That's how it works. You cannot have it, you can't, and where the dysfunction gets created is for the men who will not admit that to themselves. They create the dysfunction by way of denial, and that's usually what happens with power and responsibility. People deny having any accountability for the things that they have power over, and vice versa. So, anyways, but as far as it goes, when it comes to the whole idea of men creating baby mothers, when women have so many options, it's 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 preposterous. I mean, it's no excuse that could be made about that. Um, it's like, bullshit baffles the brain, right? I mean, I've said many times, and I'm like, it's almost like, have you ever heard of the expression, or the understanding that people go through things, like, for instance, like any psychosis, and there's a period of time where they're actually conscious and they can make conscious decisions, and there are a period of times where they can't make conscious, like, for instance, people with schizophrenia. I mean, how do you differentiate uh the point of their decision making being accountable from the point of their actions being unaccountable due to their psychosis? I mean, that's kind of where I have um a hard point of figuring out what's going on, because I've asked this question many a times. Does a strag know that she's a strag? Does she know? I mean, and I think that's a question that needs to be explored a bit. I mean, we can all say that we all have some level of accountability due to us knowing that there are certain consequences to the things that we do. Because there goes the power and responsibility. The power is in the knowledge of understanding. So therefore, you have the responsibility to do the right thing based on that understanding. But there are women out there who have been, like Kendra said yesterday, who that know nothing but this generational pathology. They know nothing else. They don't know that anything else really exists. They don't know that, women didn't behave this way. They have no idea. So at what point can we draw them and hold them accountable, without creating a dysfunctional situation? Because once again, if you try to hold somebody accountable for things that they don't have the power over, it creates dysfunction. I have to play devil's advocate on both sides because without me doing so, it will not hold up. So there are not many situations that I could actually not apply that to, and just look over it and still be held as a credible person explaining this. Um, so my thing is, this woman obviously knows something. The woman that was on BGS yesterday. Um, I say yes when she sees. Let's see if I can just highlight that. Sean says yes when she sees a woman above her and a man she knows she can't get. You have to explain that one a little bit, but obviously the woman that was on BGS yesterday, she understood that there was some accountability to be had, and this is where I can actually draw the line on that because she's a woman who was actually married. She was a woman who was, regardless of the era that she grew up in, she had some wherewithal to understand that to hold yourself accountable to some interaction with a man, you need to accomplish certain things with that man, and she chose to get married. So a person can make the argument that that's just a traditional recourse that goes without thought, but I don't think so in this day and age. The birth rates are declining, and the marriage rates are declining. So and for the fact that people can get married and divorced at will, a lot of people are just like, why even get married in the first place? So for a person, especially a millennial, to get married, that's a very intentional thing that has purpose behind it. And she not only did it once, she did it twice. So that says to me that she has some understanding and knowledge, therefore I can hold her accountable. Um, but this is the smoke screen. The smoke screen is when it like I've said before. I don't know if you guys have heard me say this, but when you go through life and you experience some things and you don't understand them rationally, but your emotions are drawing you and pulling you in a certain direction, that's more than likely programming talking, because um there there are gaps in between our consciousness, and what fills those gaps are the subconscious programming that we went through. That programming could come from anywhere. It's almost like, if anyone has ever been in the military, right? So the reason or anybody that knows the military, the reason why people train up and do the same thing over and over and over again is so that you can build the confidence within yourself, not only that you know how to do it. But if you hit a space where your consciousness goes offline, like for instance, you've seen something that was super traumatic, you know how people get stuck in the moment and they can't move, your subconscious training will kick in every single time. This is the reason why people train over and over and over and over again, so that if there comes a space and time where your conscious mind can't rationally make a decision, your subconscious will pick up and keep moving in the direction that you need to. This is also how it works when it comes to social programming. But and this is also how you explain the fact that uh, people um people I don't know how many times, like for instance, I'll give you a scenario that's not even related to the military. How many times have you been driving in your car and you intend to go somewhere, but you space out consciously and you end up at a place that you normally go, but it's not that place? You know what I mean? That's because your autopilot kicked in because you had done that route so many times, even though you needed to make a detour somewhere else to get to where you really wanted to go. Your subconscious mind kicked in and it took over and autopilots you to the place that you would normally go on that route. This is also how social programming works, the same exact way. um and people become conscious to that. They're like, how did I get here? That's how it works. There are many situations that people go through where they end up on the other side of the fence and they don't know how they got there. That's the social programming. and it can be dangerous at times. That's why I limit what I expose myself to consistently. I make sure that the things that I listen to and that I engage in are things that are going to promote me being in a better position, even if I go offline consciously. Um, but anyway, back to the main topic. Uh, this chick, she purposely tried to derail the conversation by throwing out, and Angry Man is very good at this. I don't know, Angry Man and Grinch are very good at this. Plus BGS. I don't know why she even wanted to get it baffles me, but I think it was because she felt confident in her ability to argue the point due to the fact that she's living a certain way. Once we start digging into your history, you're going to pick you apart very, very simplistically, and categorically at that matter. Hold on, let's see. Let's see. It says you let her die. Gender relations are a negotiation for service rent or room versus protection and provision. I agree with that. Um, but uh, this chick, she tried so many misdirections, but the hound dogs was on her ass. That's the I mean, she picked the wrong night, she picked the wrong setting. I mean, the cards wasn't in their favor. She could have went over, to the other side of the fence and got her talking points all the way across, but I don't know why she wanted to try to poke the bear. I have no idea. But either way, it's a very good look into a case study of how a lot of women think. A lot of women think like that, and it's unfortunate because they don't understand the problem that's going on. And to a degree, I will hold them accountable, and I have to, because there's going to be at some point that you're making a conscious decision, regardless of your social programming, to go ahead with the marching orders of your own destruction and the destruction of the people around you. So I can't allow that to happen. Um, but anyways, what she was attempting to do is she was attempting to break down the psyche of the men. Kendra talks about this many times, but her argument points were too irrational. If she had made any rational sense to a certain degree, then she may have been able to get past the gate guards. But unfortunately and fortunately, she was not able to do so. Um, but her points were that a man sticks his dick in the chick, chick gets pregnant, and therefore he's responsible, and therefore he's created a baby mother, therefore he should be held to a certain standard or accountability, um, and that he should be uh, seen as a perpetrator, pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what you get labeled as, even after the fact that you are holding yourself to a certain level of accountability. There is not enough blood that can be given to a woman that's out on a mission to destroy you subconsciously, that will justify her not labeling you as a certain kind of person that isn't seen in a negative light. Hey, what's going on, BGS? It says she picked the Coliseum and the Gladiators. Yeah, she did. I mean, it was a good show. It was a good show, and I definitely can appreciate that platform being the place where that happened, because that could have been in the recesses of YouTube, and we would have never got the exposure, or that would have never got the exposure that it needs to, so that subsequently we can have these conversations to break down the systematic pathology of how we got to the point where we even have to have that conversation. I mean, we understand that there are certain things going on around us that is causing devastation, but a lot of people don't understand how we got there. It's because we are moving and under a unilateral social programming that we are subconsciously marching to, and people don't understand that. And the reason why I can see it is because I'm able to march to a completely different tune. I was almost born. I pretty much was born outside of the matrix, even though still to this date, both of my parents are locked by the gynocracy. This is the reason why I fought back at a young age. Unconsciously, I'm thankful for that, because yeah, the way some of these magos are, ugh, it's unfortunate because we can use that manpower to help build a foundation of understanding and knowledge that we can hold everybody accountable to unilaterally. uh but anyways, the fact that she would continue to strum on even though her ideology was being knocked down left and right. It almost seems like and I'm speechless by that, because at what point does the gynocracy give up? What point does it happen? What point what point does the gynocracy say, you know what? We're not going to convince these people. We need to take as many people as that we can convince and keep it moving. But they keep coming back time and time and time again, and it's never really the same person. So the population is large. It's 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 very mounting. It's very it's a tall mountain, but we have the devices to get past it and make tunnels, no problem. It's just the fact that it seems almost immovable. But anyways, um, she ended up saying uh, a few things that kind of sound very familiar to me. And that's the reason why I'm circling back to the power and responsibility and accountability video. Um, and not once did she make the move to hold women accountable for their actions. That is a number one sign for someone who is seeking to manipulate in their favor. It's when they can't place themselves in the crosshairs of accountability. You know, any dual-sided interaction, there's going to be almost seamless part of responsibility to be made, especially if people have the same amount of power. They're more than likely going to have the same amount of responsibility as well. Um, but she didn't hold. It's almost 100%, 100% power, but she was given 100% responsibility to the men. 100% responsibility, or 100% power to the women. 100% responsibility to the men. That is our biggest dysfunction, in my opinion. That's our biggest dysfunction because the men, we're waking up a whole lot faster. But the the point where a lot of men, I'm gonna say a two-folded statement, but a lot of men don't have the power to work with these women. We just like BGS and Kendra, everybody said the same thing. We don't have the authority over these women to even fix this. you know Therefore we don't have any responsibility to it, but we do have the power over ourselves and our own decisions. you know she said a few things that I could understand, but she was using them in a dysfunctional way. you know Men are responsible for their actions, but it's not up to the society, you know at this point, in regards to interpersonal relationships. It's not up to a society, unless you're doing something highly illegal, like murdering someone, or any of the harsh things that you can do as a human. That is something that you probably should engage in, and yeah, society can judge you accordingly because of that. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships that are the lesser of those things, society should have no play in that at all. But unfortunately, they do. And as a result, black men don't have the power that they need in order to harness the tools that they need to fix this problem. But like I said, this is a twofold statement. The men, we have power. We have the power over ourselves and our own decisions. That I can understand when she said it, but she was using it in the wrong context. You do have power, and you should be held responsible for the things that you do and you decide to do in your life. Um, and likewise, you have the power to say no and go somewhere else. You have the power to mold your life. You have the power to disengage. You have the power to not be not participate. You have power. You have power. That's the greatest power. That power is stronger than the power that the state gave the women. Because without you, she has no power. All power derives from men. All power. All power derives from men in the physical world. Uh everything that we use, everything that we do has manpower behind it. It has manpower behind it, from the manufacturing of your batteries to the manufacturing of your phone to your house, everything. All Most of the power that is displayed in this world comes from men. And it comes from our decision to engage or disengage. You know, it's no different. And a lot of people won't apply that to their interpersonal reaction relations that they have with people. That chick, she had two engineers. That's very telling. And it's not so much it's telling of her, yes, but it also tells something of the men, that irregardless of the type of woman that she was, irregardless if she tried to hide it or not, there are many women that do hide these things. But if you're a man who is in a good position in his masculinity, you can sniff this stuff out. And after you sniff it out, you hold yourself accountable with your interactions with her. Um, you don't engage with someone that you know is degenerate and has degenerate behavior and a degenerate history. I mean, unless they show some long track record of change. You don't engage with that. And a lot of men, they're choosing to do so. So on a different note, no, you're not responsible for creating baby mothers, but you are responsible for engaging in the creation of baby mothers. That's a totally different statement, you know. Um, and that's where her negative conflation was. She was equating that because men engage with these women, they are ultimately responsible. I mean, you can't even make the argument that that's a 50-50 situation due to the fact that men have no power on the birthday or before. Before you let your nut go to the birth of the baby, you have no power even thereafter. So therefore, yeah, 100%. Your 100% responsibility is before you let that nut go. That's where you are 100% responsible for. You're responsible for the things that you do. I said this. I mean, if people really go back through the catalog and listen to what I've said, I don't really say anything too different. And that's the reason why I created the videos that I did, because they are to capture a specific way of living. And I can't say that it's 100% foolproof, because there are things that are going to happen that you may not readily have this information down pat about for, you know. But if you practice those principles, you can, live a life that is um, almost free of drama. I mean, it won't be completely free, but at least you'll have the power and the responsibility behind your actions. But that's my video. That's all I have to say. If you guys got any questions, let me know in the chat, or for the people that's going to listen to this after this video, go ahead and leave me a comment. But I'll see what anybody else has to say in the chat. Tony Smith says a good case study. Yes. She is an excellent case study. I don't think you could have got a better case study than that, because she was very genuine in her dysfunction. Very genuine in it. She didn't feel any type of guilt due to the fact that she didn't hold anybody accountable except for the men. She didn't feel any type of way about anything that she was saying. Hey, what's going on, Kendra? But that was a great case study because she was sincere in her dysfunction. But let's see. He say, calm down. I can only like once. He said, BM always had the responsible long time. Yep, they have. Yeah, we talking about out. Well, I was just going over the power and responsibility video that I was doing, and I was pretty much just outlining, um, you know, what everyone was saying and what it boils down to. It boils down into power and responsibility because if you don't have the power to make choice, you don't have the responsibility to the choices that are made with that power. That's just simply what I was going over, and I was explaining a few things that she said, about being men being 100% responsible or had any responsibility to the conception of baby mothers. And one other point that I made was that the only way that I can agree that a man creates a baby mother is if he agreed to have a relationship with a woman and they subsequently had a child that they agreed to as well, and he did some fuck shit and that caused the disruption in the relationship, thus ending it. Now you've created a baby mother. That's the only way that I can see that happens, um, by your own actions. But anything less than that, no, I can't really agree with that. um, but yeah, I just wanted to go over a few talking points and get a few ideas that I had out. Uh, but if anybody doesn't have any more to say, I'm going to go ahead and get out of there. I'm going to sit back and watch me a little anime. Maybe actually, I'm gonna probably play some. I bought the new Zelda, the Link's Awakening, and I'm about halfway through that, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide on that a little bit. But anyway, if y'all don't have anything else to say, I'll catch y'all on the next one.